Hey, welcome to Horror Movie Massacre, presented by the Horror Syndicate. I'm Ray, and tonight we'll be discussing, as you might have saw 2 seconds ago, the Curse of Frankenstein, a Hammer film. And next week on Wednesday for Werewolf Wednesday, we are doing the Curse of the Werewolf. So stick around and subscribe for all that good stuff. And of course, Seth will have his Werewolf Wednesday tomorrow. We'll have to ask him what he's planning on doing because I have no clue. Yeah. Anyway, I'll welcome in Seth, and we'll get to talking about the Curse of Frankenstein. Hi, Seth. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Got a little bit of a headache, but that's okay. I saw Terrifier 3 today, so that's probably why. Uh, it's been a
I'm looking
lot
forward
of
to seeing
talk
it.
on that movie lately. Yeah,
I'm,
I know you are. After you're on board now.
yeah, I think I might be a fan.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's a ton of people that are fans of them. I just
Well,
lack of substance, in my opinion.
yeah, well, it's just funny because I just watched them last weekend. I did one and two back to back, and I sent you guys a message, and I even put on my own personal Facebook. I'm like, these are one and done movies for me. I don't overly love them, but then they've been like on my mind, and like the fact that I'm excited to see part three Friday. I'm like, maybe I'm a fan after all.
Yeah, I mean, and that's there's nothing wrong with that at all because a lot of people love these movies. I don't know. Like every time I watch them, I like walk out like I can't believe I just watched that. So they're just not for me, I guess. I will say in the new movie, there's no reason to walk out. There's no, I don't think you see anything different from the other movies where they would induce vomiting. The I will say one thing about Damien Leone, who I understand is the guy who he's an effects guy. The effects are really good. Just like in the last couple movies, the effects are actually really well done. But uh, yeah, I think they do go on a little bit. And there are a couple of them in this movie that I would say that did just, yeah, come on, didn't need that. Good evening. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I want to talk about the movie in spoiler fashion, but I don't think even Nate's gonna see that until next year sometime. I have it at number 16 on my list for films this year of 24. So I have to see what you decree it to be. See if it
Yeah,
passes blackout. Um, but
I knew you
tonight,
weren't gonna like Blackout.
I like Larry Fessenden movies for the most part, but that movie just wasn't very good. The makeup on the wolf was really rough. The acting was really poor in my opinion, and I don't know. I just didn't care about any of the characters. And man, Addison Timlin looks weird. She doesn't look like herself. Like I don't know what
Yeah,
happened to her. She looks terrible. I feel bad because she was super hot when she was in like what was that
Thomas.
movie? Yeah, Odd Thomas and kind of the Dreaded Sundown rehash or whatever it was. Yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't wasn't big for me. I saw
Fair
Terrifier
enough.
3. The gore is still too much. Eh, I don't know. I one thing I really want to talk about with Art is his role in this movie versus the other ones, but we'll get there once you see it. Anyway, so did you get a chance to watch The Curse of Frankenstein again, or are you going off the memory?
Yeah, I watched it earlier tonight.
How'd that go?
It went well.
Did it make you want to throw somebody with a big brain off the balcony and he hit his head right on the ground and then you take his brain and
I
put it
love that
into
scene.
a alternate body?
I love that scene.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the floor move whenever he tosses him over. It's like
Yeah,
that's one of the most brutal scenes I think in any of the Hammer movies ever. Um, So what are your takeaways from this one? What are the things you do like and don't like about the Curse of Frankenstein?
Okay, I think there's only one thing that like I'm not like huge on, and that's like the look of the monster himself.
Yeah.
Um, I know that it's not universal, so you can't have that universal design, and
No, they
it
threatened to
is,
sue them, I believe.
yeah. Um, it might be closer to the look from as described in Mary Shelley's book, but that's really the only negative I have. Uh, what I love about this film, why this is like one of my favorite Frankenstein films ever, is just like horror Dracula, it takes huge liberties from the original story. There's little pieces that are vaguely familiar here and there, but it takes huge liberties. But I think it all works for the better for this film because I thought it was absolutely brilliant to not only not focus on the monster itself, but to make Victor himself the antagonist of the film. And most portrayals of Victor, are it's like he's an arrogant man. He's caught up in his work. Then he realizes too late what he did, and then he feels guilt and shame and all that. This is completely different. This is Victor Frankenstein that is just an awful human being in general. Um,
Yeah, from the
Cheating on his
get-go.
fiance with the maid, what he actually does to the maid, what he does to that guy that he throws off the balcony. Um, yeah, and I think that's the major appeal for this film for me is because I like that kind of take on Victor, and
Mhm.
I think Peter Cushing just plays this version brilliantly. Like he's just great in this role.
He does, and it's hard to ever think that Peter Cushing can't play anything really well because he's good at just about everything. And I hats off
Yeah,
to the kid that played the young Frankenstein when he meets Paul for the first time.
yeah,
Also another Paul. Actually, the
yeah.
first Paul in Hammer history, from what I understand. Yeah, the Robert De Niro, I like it. I don't know how you feel about Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
I really like it. It's I think it's the closest adaptation. It's got its moments where it takes liberties, but I think it's probably the closest to the novel.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, it
and
is.
I get that the big complaint that I see from a lot of people for that film is that Kenneth Branagh is so over the top in his performance. And I understand that. I get that he's very over the top, but I dig that film. Actually, I just got the Blu-ray, the Arrow Blu-ray,
Mm.
a few months back.
Earlier this in the summer. I like it just fine. It is what it is. I mean, it's off the heels of Bram Stoker's Dracula. I'm sure that's why it was made the way it was. If you're here,
Yeah,
why don't you drop
I
us
think
a like?
Coppola.
By the way, hmm?
Yeah, I think
What's that?
Coppola produced it.
Yeah, and it's not as good per se as but he's got a good supporting cast of characters around him, so it
Hmm.
it helps. And Robert De Niro, it was different seeing him as the monster, uh, you know, but good casting I think overall.
Yeah,
Will he? He'll always be your Frankenstein. Interesting. I don't think Boris Karloff was ever Frankenstein, but anyway, neither was Christopher Lee. Back to the Curse of
well,
Frankenstein. Yeah, I do.
technically, you could say he's the son of Frankenstein. Technically, Frankenstein
Yeah,
makes
but
him.
he generally in the Karloff sense, he actually has a son. in Son of
Yeah,
Frankenstein.
yeah.
I know. I'm
But
always a douche about the it's the monster, not Frankenstein. I'm always like that. Um, but I think through growing up, every time you get some Halloween decoration, Frankenstein and the creature, so they always called him Frankenstein. So, like, we all know who Frankenstein is and Frankenstein's monster and all that bullshit. But I like to tease people. Anyway, yeah, this if not for this movie, we probably wouldn't have gotten the horror of Dracula the way it was. We probably wouldn't have seen Peter Cushing was in I think five or is it six, 5 or 6 of the movies that follow any kind of Frankenstein or Doctor Stein or Doctor Frank, because of course he changes his name in every movie for the most part. But Peter Cushing is the star of this movie. He sucks as a person. He doesn't care about anything but his work, which could be commendable in some circles. But
yeah,
I don't know. The set design in this is on point for a Hammer movie. The score, I mean, everything about this movie was a great way to kick off the Hammer universe, which I don't think they had that in mind when they did it, but it was a great way. This is the first one of their gothic films. Of course, they had the Quatermass movies and a few other ones before this, but this one really kicked them into high gear. And it was the right choice. With Horror of Dracula, I love. I like Horror of Dracula more, but this is right there, really close percent because of. I mean, there's not much else to say about anyone else. Paul is forgettable because he always has an assistant, and the only thing about Paul that I like is he's defiant towards Victor,
hmm
and he kind of lies to him towards the end. One of the other things I wanted to talk about was I like the way this one's framed. Victor's in jail, and he's gonna go to the old get the chop, and I don't mean his fucking foreskin. Uh, what do you think of the way this one was told in complete flashback, and from his perspective too?
yeah. I mean, it's not totally unusual, right? Because like the original story is told like that, because he's found in the Arctic by people on a ship, and he tells the story.
Mhm.
And this time it's he's in jail telling his story. And I think that kind of switch makes sense for this particular version because, you know, in the traditional story, um, he's being chased by his monster, you know,
Mm.
and here he is the monster, and he goes to jail for what he did. So I kind of like that. It again, like I mentioned earlier, like this has like elements that are kind of familiar to the original story, but like huge liberties are taken and things are switched up, and I think everything that got switched up makes sense for this particular take on the character.
Yeah, yeah, and they had to. They there's only certain things that they would allow. They had to be more book centric, not film centric. And the 1931 film is way different to this also, as it is in the book itself, from what I understand. I've never
Mhm.
read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, um, but isn't it kind of like a romance too? I've never read it. I don't plan on reading it. So
No, not really.
is that just the movie with Kenneth Branagh?
Yeah, I mean, there's the Mary Shelley's book is more of a tragedy, really, and you know, because Victor creates his monster and then he kind of abandons it, and then his monster goes looking for basically he wants revenge, and
Mm,
the monster fully talks. He's able, like, he learns and stuff like that, and he actually tracks down Victor, kills Victor's younger brother, frames a maid for it, So
Mhm.
like he's just all about ruining his life. But I really think that with a few minor exceptions here and there, the film Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is the closest.
It
And I
is.
know that
Yeah. I mean,
you know
I've watched videos on why it is the closest to the actual story.
yeah,
My ex-wife actually made an interesting observation when I showed her this movie. She said that the relationship between Paul and Victor are very similar to Anakin and Obi-Wan. I can see that.
that's actually that is
Well,
actually interesting.
Paul comes to tutor him. They work really well together, and then when Frankenstein starts creating this monster, Paul starts getting kind of like and the monster could really
Yeah,
be Vader in a way, you know. The monster that Anakin created was Vader. I can see that. That's interesting. I like that. Your ex-wife actually sounds pretty cool, but if she's your ex-wife, maybe not.
she's cool just
Oh,
this one time.
yeah, just this one occasion. But yeah, is there anything about this one that you're not so keen on?
Not really, just the look of the monster himself, and that's not like a huge deal breaker because the monster is actually a small portion of this movie.
Yeah,
You
he's
know,
only
it's
in
it's
a couple of scenes.
yeah, they really minimized the whole thing, which I found to be interesting because it's all about this is very much about the process up to that and
Hmm.
just kind of exploring this dickhead version of Vic.
Yeah, and then the other thing about this one is they absolutely destroy the monster as they set up
Yeah,
whenever they bring the body in. You know, he puts the head in the vat of acid or whatever, and the monster acid was right under the window, and he fell right into it. So he's destroyed for sure. Which it's like this movie is like okay, no sequel, but then at the end we'll set up a sequel because we're not 100% sure if he got the gala or the chop. So
I don't know. I kind of felt like this one like really was like it was supposed to be a one and done. I think
I don't think
it
they
was
planned on
absolutely
sequels. Well, I
no,
don't think
not
they
at
plan
all.
on making sequels for any of them, really. I think that the popularity and the ability of Peter Cushing really kind of swayed them into making more movies in general.
Yeah,
Because I mean,
that's
think
why.
about
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, well, think about the horror of Dracula and Dracula and his, the Brides of Dracula. Uh, you know, I don't know that they expected to do anything more.
No, and I think that's why the next film, what was it, The Revenge of Frankenstein? Um, they had to get really elaborate to explain away how Victor is still alive. You know,
Yeah, but they do
like
it in a really cool way. I like it the way they do it.
no, they do, but it's just like you could tell that the ending for this was supposed to be it, and then when they decided to do a sequel, they had to like get really creative and just like you know uh, explain a lot.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's one of the things I like about the ending. It's not 100% sure. It's just that we know where he's going, and it's just assumed because it closes on the guillotine, and then the credit may or may not be dead. Um, I wanted to share, if you're okay with this, I did the ranking of all
Mhm.
the Hammer Frankenstein movies with Peter Cushing. And I didn't add the horror. I don't think I have the horror on there. But on our website, thehorrorsyndicate.com, if you've never been there, check it out. But I what was it, November 23rd, I went through and, well, first of all, Freddie Francis says the luckiest thing to ever happen to Hammer is Peter Cushing. How true is that?
That's very true.
Yeah.
It's very, very true.
But I had been watching these all last October, and I decided that I wanted to rank them. And this is from the horror of Frankenstein. with Ralph Bates as Victor Frankenstein. Not a bad movie in its own right, but they went to another Peter Cushing movie after this to end it all. But the number 6 is Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell, the very last Frankenstein movie made by Hammer.
Mm-hmm.
And then number 5, The Evil of Frankenstein, which I think is the third one. Shock, shock, shock. I think this is the one where he tries to sexually assault somebody. Also, number 4 is Frankenstein Created Woman, and I think this is a little underrated. Have you seen Frankenstein Created Woman?
Yeah, I've seen them all. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's pretty good. It's
Yep.
it's different. It's the most different out of all of them, in my opinion, because most of them it's he's continuing his work, and some of them he's kind of on the run. He's got to hide as Dr. Frank. The second one, which actually is a year later, apparently, The Revenge of Frankenstein, and this is the one where he's Dr. Stein, I believe. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's good. It's really good. But Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed is I don't know like how well you remember these because I know some people say that they blur together, but man, they're just Carl. Here's Carl. Carl and Hans. Carl, Hans, and your boy Paul. And then, of course, number 1 is The Curse of Frankenstein, which is, in my opinion, it's a top 100 horror movie. By the way, we don't normally promote other channels. This is a documentary from, what's his name? I watch. He first of all he's English British, and he's got a great like voiceover.
Like Dark Corners reviews.
That's it. Yeah.
Yep.
There you go. Yeah. So check him out. Dark Corners. I subscribe. Obviously, it says subscribe, but he does some great in-depth documentaries. He did for the Dracula movies and Christopher Lee in general. And yeah,
And
I like him.
Universal.
If you haven't, did he do Universal?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's covered. He's covered the Universal Frankenstein films, the Mummy films, stuff like that.
I'll have to double check because I started watching this the other day, which is Matt Draper, who does some good documentary stuff, some good video essays. I'm gonna go to his page. I think one of the things that gets me is his accent. He's got a great like accent for doing these reviews, and he's very descriptive on School of Roger Corman. Uh, the way yeah, here you go. I just started watching this one the other day again. But yeah, check them out. Dark Corners. It's oh hey, I have to watch that. I've never seen that one. Anyway, yeah, Dark Corners on YouTube. Check them out. I don't usually throw out things like that on here because I like to uh, promote our own stuff. So, Lord.
I was
All
going
right.
to ask you to scroll up on your article because.
Oh, what'd you want to see?
Oh, because I'm trying to remember because like it's hard to remember the specific films themselves, matching them up with the titles. That's where I get a
Yeah,
little fuzzy. But
yeah. I'm going back.
Frankenstein must be no, what was it? Yeah, Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed. That's the one where there's that couple, right? That he's like kind of blackmailing.
Yeah,
That's a really good one. I love that one.
it's taking forever to load.
But that's the one where he, if it's that one, that's the one where he uh, sexually assaults a woman.
Yeah, I'm staying away from the R word.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. They do kind of bleed together, but I don't know. They're overall wow. Oh my God, we're only 14 page follows on Facebook from 63,000. Hey, that's crazy.
Sweet.
That is sweet. That's like candy. We got some comments coming in from. How's it going, Scott, uh, sorry that you have the flu. Hopefully, you get better soon. Uh, I need first Europeans on this who will win all one-on-one battle. The Wolfman and Frankenstein, who will win a fight between the two monsters. Oh, I don't know. Maybe we should start a battle royale channel. Do you think Lon
I mean,
Chaney
watch Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. They fight at the end.
or watch Assignment Terror?
Simon Terror, yes.
Uh, do you think Lon Chaney? Do you have a pretty good job as Frankenstein back in the early days, or do you think he was a better Wolfman, in my opinion?
Way better Wolfman.
Yeah.
Way better.
You got the COVID on your birthday. I had COVID on my birthday too. Um, Not last year, but 2022, and had sex with my girlfriend while on COVID. We both had COVID. It was fantastic. Not really. It was not great, but the sex pretty good. Pretty good. Anyway, yeah, I pulled that back up, but it's taking forever to load.
Oh, that's fine. I just thought we could go through them, but we don't have to.
It's all good. So yeah, what do you think of the ending of this one, though? Curse of Frankenstein? Because I was watching it, and I was like, man, I love the way it just pans up, and we get that great ambiguous ending. Uh, what are your thoughts on the ending?
I liked it. I mean, it brought the movie full circle. Um,
It is a parody, but do you like Young Frankenstein? Yes, I love it. It's fun. It's a great movie. You don't love it.
well, remember we've had this discussion before. I'm not a Mel Brooks fan.
No, I don't
Besides
remember
The
that.
Fly, which he produced The Fly, so I'll give him credit for that.
But should you give him credit for that?
I don't know.
Baron Frankenstein travels to Newtown to meet Dr. Brandt, with whom he has been corresponding with and whom he had helped collaborate with. His arrival learned that Dr. Brandt is in a mental institution, having lost his mind completely. He takes a room in a boarding house run by Anna, who just happens to be engaged to Carl, a doctor who works in the asylum. That's the one where at the end of the movie, the all the inmates rise up and go after Frankenstein, isn't it?
That's the second one. That's Revenge.
Is that the second one? Okay. Yep, I'm already getting them mixed up, so that's cool. Do you think whatever will we see a horror movie about? There's already a couple of them out there. There's Corona Zombies is one movie I know, and there's another one, at least two. Coronavirus. I'm sure there will be more at some point. Sick is a came out the last year or the year before, was about COVID-19. Revenge for giving somebody COVID and they died from it. Me and my fiance. Oh, you got a fiance? Congratulations. Uh, Church, I gotta have a good Halloween this year. Might be to go our dad's pub for Halloween, or we might watch horror movies. Yeah, enjoy. I'd do that. I wouldn't go to a pub. I would stay home and watch horror movies. Yeah, watch
Go to
all
the
six of the
Winchester.
movies. Hmm.
Go to the Winchester, have a nice pint, and wait for all this to blow over.
Yeah, there you
To
go.
quote your favorite
Wh-
movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Which role that Cushing did do you guys like better, Frankenstein or Van Helsing?
I like Frankenstein better, but
I
he's
mean,
really good as Van Helsing.
the thing is with Van Helsing, he plays Van Helsing in two movies, and then he plays in two other movies. Probably
Oh yeah,
Frankenstein.
he's
Yeah,
like
he's a descendant because it goes forward to
yeah,
1972. Yeah.
yeah.
I'd say Frankenstein. I'm not really a parody person either, but I've always liked that movie. It's fun. Um, I put it on my top 100 list, but I think I was also kind of influenced by Nate's list, which I'm gonna take my Nate's influence off my list and go redo my list again because I'm not very happy with it. But if we do a combined list, it's going to be a complete mess. So, what are
Yeah,
your all thoughts about? Huh? You what'd you say? Do you think so?
it's gonna yeah. Like I was like I was like starting to think about putting together a list, and then I was like starting to get overwhelmed, and then I was like, well, what's the point? Because it's gonna get all fucked up anyway. Like,
Yeah, I mean, and Nate, he means well, and I know what he's trying to do. And he's got all these movies on there that he's got 17 movies I've never seen on there, and there are a lot of movies that I just don't want to see. There's like two or three silent movies, like The Phantom Carriage. Really, he was really into that one, but it's just like, is it one of the top 100 of all time? You know, like, is it?
well,
Peeping Tom, I watched the other night. I didn't care for it at all. So,
yeah. Well, the problem I have is like I can't put together a list like objectively. Like everything is gonna be subjective for me. I
same
can't.
here. That's why Nightmare on Elm Street's number
I
one.
can't think in terms of objective as far as like what's a better movie than what because it all just varies on my taste. Like I don't like the Conjuring films; they're not bad made movies. You know what I mean? But I just couldn't put like those above something I do like. So
Yeah, you should make your own list then, just completely your own. And then if I go by those rules, my list would completely change because I got things
yeah,
on there I'm not particularly fond of. Like, really excited about that, but the 1922 movie, I don't give two shits about. I can't watch it. I can't. I'm not a silent movie guy. I cannot sit there and watch them. And I put it on there out of respect. Same thing with King Kong 1933. I'm not a fan of it. I don't like Godzilla movies. It's just, I can't. It's hard to do that. Like, I don't know how, if he's able to do it or if he actually truly loves all these movies. Which Nate does have a keen love for a ton of movies. So, I have no thoughts on a Guillermo del Toro led Frankenstein film. I'll have to wait and see. I can't get excited or not be excited about something that hasn't happened yet. So,
well, here's what I'll say about
which
that.
costume do you think would be harder? The werewolf costume. Go ahead.
I am looking forward to the Del Toro Frankenstein film because I love Del Toro as the director. Um,
Hmm.
and typically speaking, like when my general rule of thumb is like, don't get excited about anything Del Toro says he's going to do until they start filming. So they started filming, so okay, it is actually happening. So I'm looking forward to it. But he's like the king of announcing projects that just go nowhere.
Yeah.
That movie.
Kathy says she loves the original King Kong. I don't have a problem with it. I just, I never connected to it. I love the 1976 King Kong. I think it's better. I understand the reason why Nate would put the 33 version on his list, but it's a landmark film, especially in effects. But it's not it doesn't hold my attention to this day. Um, but yeah, Nate does like his old movies. Nate's he's like a film student in a way. Like he's a student of film. He watches and embraces so much, especially old stuff. Like he went like 2 months watching only silent movies, and God help him, or God help me, I couldn't do it. If you guys were going to a Halloween party, what would you dress up? This year I'm trying to convince my son to wear my Michael Myers gear, and I was gonna shave my beard and go as Loomis. I've already started growing my hair back out on because I'm bald on the sides and stuff, so I can be Loomis. So that's my plan. Uh, I don't know if Seth is a dressy up kind of guy.
Not really. Like the extent of it is, I'll wear my Smallville leather jacket.
Seth, did you find a lack of rope of London American Werewolf in London story on YouTube video. I told you last week he gets attacked by David and she becomes a werewolf.
I have not. I sense a lot of autocorrect in that sentence. Um,
Yeah.
I forget the actual title. But no, I have not. I have that written down. I have the actual title written down in a notebook. I just have not gotten to it yet. Uh, been watching a lot of Superman stuff, catching up on Terrifier, and then with football, I just haven't gotten to
I
it yet.
watched Man of Steel earlier. Watched Man of
Did you?
Steel today after I got out of Terrifier. Yeah. What did you like about Peeping Tom? I'd like to know that because I found it to be a slow moving, kind of boring movie about a squirrely guy who is a stalker and kills people with his tripod. Kind of. I didn't like it.
I've never seen that.
Yeah. It's on Tubi if you want to watch it. How come werewolf costumes are so hard? Because they're beasts. So a Frankenstein costume, a Frankenstein's monster costume, or a Frankenstein costume, you can dress up as a doctor, not crazy. Or you can, paint yourself green, put some bolts on, get yourself I just think it would be easier. You have to cover yourself in fur and all that shit for a werewolf. I just reviewed the first Conjuring movie on the Tuesday. We'll have to check that out. Some stuff is hard to watch. Yeah. What in a werewolf costume? Not for you, Seth? He can barely grow a
Nah, I'm
beard.
not really. Yeah.
Do you remember that fan made American Werewolf in London? It's called Lycanthrope of London, about a girl who becomes a victim of David and she becomes a werewolf. Is that what he was talking about?
That's what he was talking about. Yep. I have the title written down in a notebook. I am going to look into it. It's just, I was watching
Has
Cushing.
anybody going to see the Superman documentary about Christopher Reeve? Anybody planning on? I'd like to see that at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. Once it comes to HBO, I'll see it. It didn't come to any theaters near me. So,
Yeah, I feel like he would have been caught pretty easily. I don't know. I don't know. I just didn't like Peeping Tom. Also got invested. I see. I couldn't get invested in the story of Peeping Tom. It just wasn't that great, in my opinion. Uh, Forgot you dislike Man of Steel, like most of the world. Huh? Who does? Who dislikes Man of Steel?
there's a lot of people that dislike it.
I like it. I like it just fine. I watched it today and had some issues with it, but
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
so, does anybody have any other questions about the Curse of Frankenstein, or Steph, do you have anything else you want to talk about with the movie?
No, I think it's a really good film. It's a really good series of films, to be honest with you. Like, I've
Yeah,
enjoyed all of them, even Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell, which is like my least favorite. Um, just because they're all propelled by Peter Cushing's performance. After the second film, it was either after the second or third film, they started losing continuity. Um, but uh, but I think they're just a great series of films.
yeah, I like them all for the most part. Um, Most of the Hammer movies I've seen, I enjoy. I can't really think of any offhand that I've not enjoyed. But I definitely would say check out Curse of Frankenstein. I think it's playing on Peacock. Let me double check.
Or get the Blu-ray, you bunch of savages.
Yeah. Oh no, it's not streaming anywhere for free, except for Sling TV. You can rent it on Hulu. You can rent it on YouTube. Yeah. Buy the Blu-ray. I think it's WB Blu-ray, not or is it? I can't remember which one is Scream Factory.
It's Warner Brother.
Was Curse great enough to launch as long as a franchise? I think so.
I
I
thought
thought it
so.
was great. Yeah, I, some of the movies probably didn't need to be made, but overall, I really enjoyed the franchise as a whole. Yeah, I like it. So next week,
Because
go ahead.
I was just gonna say because it's interesting too because they don't get hung up on Frankenstein and the traditional monster. It's like eventually, he does go back to this monster, but for most of the films, it's different experiments. You know, um, and they keep up the theme, and I kind of like that. So it's the mad scientist Victor Frankenstein, and it's new experiments for the most part through each film.
Hmm. Yeah, like taking a brain and putting it in somebody else's head, stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Number two
Your
now.
number
Who's
one,
number
sir?
one? Who's number one?
Oh,
The
that's easy for
Form.
me.
Yeah. Goodness.
I call it the Loomis Saga. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6.
Same here. Next Wednesday we'll be talking about the curse of not Michael Myers, but the curse of the werewolf. Uh, on Werewolf Wednesday, right?
Yeah, so I thought we were doing that tomorrow. So yeah, but we can do it next week if you want.
No, I got something going on tomorrow. I
Okay.
think. Oh God, I gotta look at my schedule now. Dude, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with me. I gotta look at my schedule because it's not on my calendar here. I got a school thing I'm supposed to go to at some point for Helena. I hope it's not tomorrow. I'll let you know. We're either doing it tomorrow or we're doing it next Wednesday. One of the two. We'll keep you up to
Yeah,
breast.
just let me know and I'll come up. If you can't do tomorrow, then I'll come up with a topic for tomorrow.
Yeah. Yes, it is underrated werewolf movie. I really enjoy Curse of the Werewolf. I'm gonna watch it tomorrow just in case. But anyway, if you haven't dropped a like, please drop a like on this video. Hit the subscribe button. We're 14 followers away from hitting 63,000. We are 122 subscribers away from 2,000 on YouTube. So if you're out there and you like us, if we're your number two YouTuber, get other people to subscribe to our channel. That'd be great. Um, anything else before we go, Seth?
No, I think I'm good, man.
Okay. So join Seth for Werewolf Wednesday tomorrow, and I may or may not be on with him. It might be next week. Who knows? I guess we'll find out. Anyway, have a great night, and we'll see you all next week. Bye.